Hello, colleagues. This is Mary Jordan again, librarian, and coming to you from the CTL today. And today we're going to talk about meaningful grading, effective assessments. We have a lot of folks who are going to give you information about good assessments. We have a whole committee for it, work with them. And today we're just going to look briefly at a few resources that might help you to do maybe better grading. Grading is hard. I know. I don't think anybody but teachers really understand the excitement of sitting for an entire weekend and spending 10 hours a day reading essays, grading papers, grading tests. It's not the most pleasant part, but it's interesting. And hopefully, if you can give interesting assignments, and we've talked about different kinds of assignments, uh, it makes grading more interesting for you because it is kind of fun to see what your students have to say. So let's go look at a few resources, maybe give you some ideas. You don't have to do anything big and radical here, just to make things better for you so grading isn't so onerous and make it more valuable for your students. They're kind of the point to why we're here. It's good to remember that always. All right. So this is from the Edutopia website. I think I've talked about them before. I like them. I think they have a couple of podcasts or they have had over the years. Good stuff, interesting. So research-based tips. I mean, anytime you tell me research-based, yes, I'm a sucker for it. But the idea of giving meaningful feedback. So as always, I'm going to try and scroll fairly slowly so I don't make people dizzy. But that idea of be really specific, yeah. And I have seen instructors who just say be on the top, and that's it. And I mean, that's bad pedagogy. You need to make sure that you're giving the students, let them know that this didn't really work out. This better. Well, I like this. This was just abysmal right here, but this, you came back. Talk about all of that. And I'm going to tell you just for you, the more specific your feedback is, the more information you give, you cut way down on the amount of time that you then again have to spend having the students come to your office and say, but I don't understand this, and complain about their grades. And of course, it's always fine for students to come and like ask questions and clarify, but the more detailed you can be, you're going to cut way down on the amount of student kind of busy work that you don't really need to be doing anyway. The sooner the better. Number two here. Yeah, absolutely. I will say I have not heard this here. So probably not here, hopefully not here. Don't make it be true here. But I've been in schools where instructors gave back assignments, like all of them, in the last couple weeks of the semester. They didn't do any grading until then. I was not the boss of them. I am not the boss of you. I am not the boss of anyone here. But wow, that is so pathetic. Don't be that professor, okay? Don't be the instructor who's like, grading is a drag. I'm just going to save it till the end of the semester. I mean, come on. Look, they even did research right here in Minnesota. If the students have just done it, that's when they're thinking about it. And you may not be able to get things graded instantly right away. Some of these assignments that instructors give in different kinds of classes, it's going to take a while. Okay, it is. But get to it. And at the beginning of your semester, when you're making these plans and hey, this assignment where I just gave all 50 students in my class a 10-page paper to write, oh, that makes me hurt to think about it. But no, that's going to take some time. Schedule that into your life so that you are ready and you don't plan other things for that week. Um, Advancing toward the goal, of course, present it carefully because, you know, students, they're delicate, right? And many of our students, they're at the beginning of their real education. I mean, sure, everybody went to high school, that's awesome. But this is the education that they're choosing, and this is where they're going. And a lot of our students, they're there could be shaky in whether they want to keep doing this. And if the first or the first two assignments that they get back, not only did they not do well, which you can bounce back from that. That's not the end of the world. But the feedback on it is, hey, you big jerk, why are you even wasting my time in this class? Again, I would certainly hope you would never say that specifically. But is whatever you're saying, is it coming across like that to your students? Think about it. And now I will say, I think the opposite is also a problem. And you may have guessed this about me. I tend to be a person who maybe gives a little too much sunshine in the feedback. That's also not great. Like, oh, you got a C, but look, you tried so hard, gold star, and things like that. It's not helping. I mean, you do need to realistically uh, talk to your students about how things are going. This is kind of off the topic, but I'm just going to suggest, and we can discuss later. I can discuss with you. Give students the opportunity to drop one of the assignments in your class. Because really, I mean, everybody blows something, everybody fails a test, everybody forgets to turn in a paper. It just, look, I do this now for a living, but I've been a student for a long time. Everybody blows it. Give them the opportunity potentially to drop one of their grades, or give people the opportunity, and I'm not trying to make extra work for you, to redo one of their assignments, two of their assignments, all of their assignments. I'm not trying to make extra work for you, but think about that, because the point is not get an A in the class. I mean, in the end, I mean, they need that for a little bit, but I mean, in the grand scheme of life, no one cares. No one cares what specific grade they got. You want them to make sure that they're learning the things, and the assessment that you're doing, the things we're going to talk about here, all of that matters. So consider, maybe, could they drop a grade? Could they redo assignments? I did not do that when I first started teaching. I had no instruction in how to teach when I first started teaching. I was not very good at it. And I've kind of talked about this before, and I've talked about this with many of you in person. As I became more confident in my teaching, and in the things that I felt good doing, I became more confident in allowing the students to do things differently. So I don't, I never had, I don't think I ever did the stage of letting them drop an assignment. I did a lot of assignments. I did a lot of small assignments. That worked for me. That worked for the classes that I was teaching. Um, they didn't drop one because honestly, the paperwork, that was, for me, that was too much hassle. But I did start letting people do things over again. And that was great. That really worked out well. Not everybody will, not everybody takes the opportunity, and they blow your class, and well, I mean, you can only do what you can do. But what can you do? And I do think that effective feedback is part of the process of making sure that they learn things. Okay, so again, sorry, that was kind of off topic, but relevant. Inviting them or involving them in the process, I think that's good. If you, and this is not exactly what they're saying here, but I have done this before, is I would have students turn in papers without their name, but with some sort of identifying code and the last four numbers of their student ID or something that I could see in the chart, or else I would just put a code on everybody's paper, and so that there's no name is the important part. There's no name, but I can tell whose paper it is. And then I would distribute them in class, and I would let other people write assessments on them. And they didn't do the grading, but other students who had done the same assignment, they would read their colleagues' work right on the paper. Although again, you could do that online and maybe just have comments added, and that wouldn't be very difficult. And it was interesting, and I do feel like that was really helpful with giving feedback, because it's not just me who's saying, ugh, the way your transitions between paragraphs, not awesome. This strategic plan does not make sense. This will not work. You will drive your library into the ground. Things like that. It was helpful, but It's also really helpful for the students who were to do that and to have to sort of switch their hats and not just be oppressed by their homework, but also have that feeling of what it does feel like to give feedback. So this is from Education Week. They do tell us only one free article, so I guess use your free article wisely. Um, excuse me. They again talk about the specifics, and I like this. I like, so what should you be doing? What could make this better? So when I tell you in your first paragraph there was no thesis statement, yeah, maybe here's what you could do. And when you rewrite this assignment, right here, put in your thesis statement. And a thesis statement is, and maybe you could include a link if it's online, something to help them figure out, well, I didn't just do a random thing because my teacher made me do it. This is um, a specific task that's helping me to build my skills. Because, yeah, I also find it frustrating when I would spend hours sitting at home on my couch and trying to work through grading. And I would spend time trying to write a lot of detailed assessment. And I would try to really add feedback, good ideas. If I was writing in paper, I wouldn't use red ink because, everybody kind of says that's destructive to people's mental health. Just in case, I mean, that sounds like hooey to me. But I don't know, just in case, I would use green ink and purple ink and happy colors. And I would hand them all back so carefully, these just masterpieces of here's what we're doing, here's how you could be better. My students, rise up and be fabulous. And they would be like, I got a B, and toss it in the trash. I tried not to take it personally, but it's hard. So talk about not only why we're doing this assignment, and it should never be we're killing time, and I'm sure it's not. But why are we doing this assignment? How does that fit into the overall picture? Um, and then also, why are we grading like this? It helps. A little praise. So again, I said I feel like there were times, and probably earlier in my career, where I was a little bit too heavy with the praise. I tend to be a little overly Pollyanna and positive, but it's nice. It's nice to be able to say, oh, you know what? This is really good. I really enjoyed reading this, if that's the case. Or, I looked at the way you built this biology cell. Really nice work. This was a hard thing, and you didn't do it perfectly, but you did it pretty well. Or you made an outstanding weld on this piece. You can tell what I teach and what I don't. Whatever is going to make sense in your area, try to say something nice. I mean, nobody likes to get bad feedback. When everybody, you think about even just your annual review that you do every year, yeah, it's always hard. Nobody wants to have to listen to somebody tell you that you didn't do a good job or you could have done better. We don't always do a good job. We could always do better, but maybe say that in a way that makes me feel like I want to try better. So this is from Columbia, from their Center for Teaching and Learning. So just keeping in mind every time they say CTL, this is their CTL, well funded, lots of staff, not our CTL, not currently that. So, excuse me. So we have feedback for learning. I like that. We've talked a little bit about the what, the why. Sorry, I'm trying to scroll slowly here for you. Um, I never heard this word before. I've actually done a ton of work in teaching and pedagogy, and I don't know this word, and I actually looked up how to say it, and now I don't remember. But just so you know, you can Google how do you say a word, and Google will tell you, which is very handy. Um, if you do that and you figured it out, I love this. I love this concept to help people think a little bit more. And so, again, this is something you can do if you're letting people like turn in a rough draft of an essay or turn in a draft lab report. And, what could we do? You make a few notes on it. How do we make this a little bit better? I've seen some of the work that students turn in here, and I mean, some of it is great, much of it is perfectly fine, definitely no problem. Um, but there is sometimes a tendency, and not just our students, every student everywhere, there is kind of that tendency to say, oh, I don't know. My teacher made me do this. So I'm just going to like whip some words down on paper or put together this water cleaning device and not really think about why they're doing it and not kind of expand on it, just do sort of a basic, I used one sentence to answer the question instead of I used a paragraph to really make it make sense. So that idea that it's action oriented, and I don't think anybody has said that in the other material that we've looked at so far. But what do you do with this? So I told you, yeah, okay, so this was the assignment. You did pretty well here. How do you build on that? How do you keep going? And, how do you make everything better? I'm I'm a believer in that. I was just having this conversation. I'm a believer in the yes and. Okay, so you turn in this assignment. Yes, and now. And I'm going to throw out just a shout out. I don't know if the kids still say that to the McKeechee tips. We have several of these in the library. We have other books on teaching in the library. Um, I think the McKeechee book is great for just improving your teaching. And I feel like I say this a lot too. It literally does not matter how long you've been teaching. I have been teaching part-time, full-time, adjuncting, otherwise for, geez, going on 20 years. It it gets easier, but things keep changing. And so you do have to keep building your skills. So if you want to read the McKeechee book, I will bring it to your office. If you want to read another book, I will bring it to you, or foreshadowing. I'll show you how to find everything for yourself. All right, here's a quick look from this website called Teaching and Learning Lab. I'm not familiar with the site, but look, that looks like a library, and I'm clearly inclined to think that they're great. Uh, They talk again about what constitutes the effective feedback, timely again, and I think people say that because I wasn't at the only school where people did not give timely feedback, and it's a problem. That's not fair to your students, and it's bad teaching. Part of why I'm showing you a variety of different articles is that, I mean, different things speak to different people. So some of this makes sense to you in this article, but maybe somebody else liked that last article. All the links will be available right down there, and you can click on all this and look through it yourself. The real-time group feedback, Um, maybe. And so I've used Poll Everywhere. We have different devices that instructors are using in class that are kind of games. Uh, Even if you don't have that, because we only have so many licenses for it, this Poll Everywhere is easy. I've used that quite a bit. And I had a class of 75 students who were all doing internships one semester. So a lot of them, and we didn't have very many in-person classes. And so I would put my questions in a poll anywhere, and they were and then students could vote on them using their phones or their computers. And I would ask questions that were things like, so how many people got lost on the way to their building on the first day, or I mean, something easy like that to help people get started, and then they can choose A, B, C, D, whatever the answers you put in. And they start off not being terribly interested, but like so many things, as they kind of go on and as they see you're paying attention to the feedback, especially when I told them I'm using this for next semester, we'll make changes based on what you thought next semester. It's nice. And maybe it also encourages them to give you some feedback, which It's always helpful, usually helpful. All right, Inside Higher Education is where this is from. I've talked about this resource before, but if you aren't already signed up, go ahead and sign up. The account is free. Otherwise, you get 5 articles a month. They seem to be fairly generous with that. If I open in Firefox, I get 5. In Chrome, I get 5, and But I do have an account. I get emails from them, digest, I think every day, Monday through Friday, every day. And at least every week, I find something that I'm going to click on and read. So, academic success, guiding them through the meaningful feedback. I mean, isn't this picture kind of the ideal of teaching? So the instructor is sitting behind the desk, they're talking to the student, they're holding a paper that the student has written. They're they're paying close attention to each other. They're really focused in, and wow, learning is happening. Yeah. A lot of you are teaching 5, 6, 7 classes in a semester, and that is not a possibility. You will not be doing that. So, I mean, know that going in, but when these surveys from different places say 4 in 10 students are coming or having their success is being negatively impacted by unclear expectations. Sure. I mean, it's an easy thing for a student to say, but I am kind of on the student side here. And I think it's because it's easy to get caught up in thinking, oh, well, I do this class. I know everything about this class. And I, you forget how little the students know about it. I, this is again kind of unrelated to feedback, but I don't think terribly. I have seen a bunch of D2L pages here, and I have been in several online classes over the last year, kind of across the state and other places where I've had to be in D2L pages, and they are garbage. I was in a class about how to do good teaching, and in that class, I had to be on the D2L page, and I had to try and figure out what they wanted and how to make it work, and I could not do it. So, expectations, being able to give expectations, and all of that is going to be very useful. So, when you're thinking about feedback, expectations, keep in mind it starts from the beginning. Make your D2L right, make your assignment good, and then when you make the feedback, it'll be more helpful. All right, best feedback, educative, timely, sensitive to the individual. Yeah, and maybe you get to know your students. I know not everybody does kind of get the chance. If you're in a huge class, you may not really know so much about all of your individual students, but if you do and maybe somebody's a little bit more sensitive and I don't want to say weepy in like a negative way, but maybe somebody is a little bit more weepy in class and they've cried in class and things like that. That's fine. Maybe that's not the one where you say, "Are you kidding me with this work? What's wrong with you?" But maybe I'm somebody who would do better with that. I don't know that I would ever say that to a student, but be thoughtful about how you're giving the feedback. So they're giving an assortment of strategies, and I just wanted to highlight that idea of audio or video. I mean, you can see it's really easy to make a video. You turn on Zoom, and there you go. But making just audio podcasts, audios, podcasts, things like that, also shockingly easy. And I did this sometimes if when I feel like maybe the whole class misunderstood something or the whole class did not get something. I might make a video that would be useful. And I could just kind of say it once and then refer back to it. I don't have to keep writing it over and over again. And the idea of maybe small group meetings. So they're talking in here about peers evaluating each other. Maybe, but I was actually, when I saw that, I had been thinking small group meetings, maybe we're just getting like the class, maybe Um, I'm getting several students together and we're sort of all talking about it together and they're not necessarily f giving each other feedback. I don't know. Decide it how you want. But the opportunity to maybe talk to people in person so they can ask questions together, it could be helpful. All right, and I am your librarian. I am here to share things out of our catalog always. So this is not a tremendously good search. We can talk about doing better searches. I can talk about searches that are more specific to your needs. I was just trying to come up with something that was good. When you search, you're always trying to guess what keywords are being used. So I did a few test searches here and put in like effective assessments or assessment. I don't know, grading is the word that people are using in the material that I think is useful to us on this topic. So that's why I'm saying grading here in the search, and that's not really what our topic is today. All right, so what you come up with here is 28,936 results. Huzzah, so many. Teaching first year college students. This is a book, looks really helpful. It's time to complete community college, student outcomes, studies. I thought this looked really interesting. So I opened it right over here. And I think this might be a book that really a lot of us should read, could read, would find I'm not prescriptively giving you homework, but if this is a topic that you're interested in and kind of how do we get more students out of community college and into whatever their next phase is, there's a lot of interesting ideas here. So I'm just scrolling down here and you can see the parts, um, individual chapters. For our instruction or for our part today, our topic today, the how do instructional practices influence student outcomes. I think this could be very helpful to us specifically today, but I mean, honestly, this whole book, I don't think this looks like it's very long. I didn't open the whole thing, but I don't think it looks very long. If you want to browse through it, please feel free to. If you want to just pick out a chapter, you could just do that. All right. And I thought this was interesting, this article about how maybe students think that letting AIs grade or letting your D2L page do some automatic grading, maybe they feel like that's more fair because your perspective is less involved. I don't know. Who knows? It's confusing. Um, a bunch of different topics, a bunch of different ways to get in here. Again, marketing, valuable, specific grading. I feel like it doesn't matter what time in history you're at, you can always say, these kids today, they don't work as hard as I did back in my day. But you know, that idea of restoring rigor, making it hard, making classes work. Yeah, that kind of stuff is easy to say. And is it real? I don't know. I mean, does it actually have meaning that isn't every single year ever in history? I don't know. Not a historian. But maybe it seemed like there could be some helpful things, a variety of things. Um, I was actually going to click on this for myself because I'm not really aware of the STEM grading penalty, the leaky pipeline hypothesis. Um, a lot of STEM classes are hard. I know you lose a lot of people along the way. This one, we actually have this in the library. So just my final thing that I want to show you, not just for this, but also so you're available to show your students. So let's say I just want to look at some paper books that are here in the library. I just click that over there, held by the library. And so now I can see everything that's here, says it's here. This is the call numbers, uh, just to make it a little bit easier for you, a little bit easier to find things. We have several copies of this to give out to instructors, so please, I'm happy to give it to you. And let's bring it back around. Remember when I said I really love Makichi? We have multiple versions of Makichi. They are here, they're in the library. It's a small book. I'm trying to hold my hands up here if you're not looking in this corner. Small book, not very big, but it's very heavy. It's very dense. So we have those available for you. If you want to check out any of this, I can bring it to you. I can drop it off for you. I can give you whatever you think you need that's going to make your teaching a little bit easier. All right, that was a lot. Talking about effective grading, effective assessments, trying to make sure that you're giving students the feedback and the information that they need, not just to pass your class, although that is lovely, but so that, they can pass the other classes that are in the sequence, that they're ready to graduate, that they're ready to go on to careers, to more school, to more training, to more certificates, to whatever they're going to need. It's all sort of a rich tapestry. And every little piece, including every little assignment, every little assessment, every little bit of feedback that you give, it all matters. It's all there. It's all important. Yeah, it's kind of all up to you, right? Good for you. As always, you're never alone. Of course, you have a dean, you have colleagues, you have other people around, and I do not hold myself out as the expert, but I'm really good at looking things up. So I can help you find ideas, I can help you get information, and I'm just somebody who probably doesn't teach what you teach. And it's good to have a little bit of perspective on that and to maybe bounce some ideas around. Okay, I will see you in the next video. Thanks so much, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.